Good morning. Welcome to the May 10th, 2018 District Parent Advisory Council meeting here at Veteran School today. This morning, we're going to have Informed Parents Thrive, Preventing the Summer Slide, Summer Resources. I would like to say thank you to each and every one of you who have come out today to be a part of this. We have some exciting things planned for our students during the summer. And at this point, I want to invite Mr. Kevin Barfield to welcome you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We want to thank Veterans Memorial School for hosting our meeting, our monthly meeting. So we want a representative from the school to have a few words as far as welcoming you guys here today.
Hi, I'm Carrie Grimmy. I'm the operations manager here at Veterans. I just wanted to take a minute and welcome everybody for taking the time out of your day to come here. Partnerships with our parents and our community are incredibly important throughout the district, and we really value that here at Vets. So we're thrilled to have people from across the district here today. So thank you again. Enjoy the meeting, and I'll hand it back to Mr. Barfield.
Thank you, Ms. Grimmy. And again, as you see, we handed out agendas for the day. So basically, this is how we're going to try to follow our meeting today. So usually, our Vice President, Ms. Betty Thomas, she would do the welcoming on behalf of the District Parent Advisory Council. Ms. Thomas has been under the weather, and we want to keep her in our prayers. But on behalf of the District Parent Advisory Council, I'd like to, again, welcome and thank everyone for attending today's meeting. So again, today we're going to talk about district summer programs, and then we're going to talk about the summer slide, and we want to give out information on reference to how can we help keep our children active during the summertime. So right now, I'm going to bring up Miss Ebony Henson from the district to start us off with the district summer programs.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Ebony Henson, and in the district, I am the senior manager for school, family, and community partnerships. So we really feel that this is an awesome turnout. We thank you for coming to learn a couple of ways of making sure that our students don't lose all the wealth of information that they've received throughout the school year. And so we're going to talk about the summer slide, and that's what that's called, when our students are in danger of losing what they've learned because they don't practice continually throughout the summer. A lot of times we feel that the summertime is a time for kids to get out there and take a break and enjoy themselves and go on vacation. And yes, they should absolutely do that. But as parents, we want to make sure that they are practicing some of the skills that they have learned throughout the school year so that when they come back in September, they are totally ready to learn and they haven't forgotten anything. So let's take a dive into the summer slide. So we talked about that over the summer. Our kids are really at risk for experiencing a lot of loss of learning. And so this is called the summer slide. It's also called brain drain. And research shows that this especially affects our special needs populations. So if you have children that are in special education, they are in greater danger of losing the skills that they've learned compared to their peers. So what do we have to do about that? We have to practice regularly with our kids. So whether it be multiplication skills and timetables, just making it fun. It is the summer, so they don't want to feel like they're still in school, just sitting in front of a teacher. We can make it fun. And so I'm going to ask some of you to give us some ideas of how you make learning fun during the school year and even in the summer. What are some things we could do for, let's say, multiplication that would be fun? Do we have a volunteer parent? Come up. You come up and tell us. What do you do? And everybody, this is...
I'm Ivory. I'm a parent at Sharp Elementary School and also have a high school at Brim Medical Arts. Some of the things that I do as far as math is just really we focus on money. So multiplying money to save for things like little outings that they want to do specifically. So it's a couple of things that they can learn. 1, saving; 2, responsibility; and 3, facts. The other thing, we just did a workshop at our school, and a teacher there, Sister Lewis, held for us, and we got some new tips, multiplication bingo. So it's fun, it's a game, and you still get to, learn along the way.
Thanks so much. Now, aren't they great ideas? And that's called real life math. So we're not making them do skill and drill where we're sitting there with timetables, learn this, learn. No, but we're just having fun. We're going to the grocery store. We're saying if, we were having a party and had 50 people there, how many hot dog rolls would we need if each person gets 2 hot dogs? And so those are some of the fun things that we can do. Another thing that you can remember is access to books is the key. Having as few as 20 books in the home has a significant impact on ensuring that our kids are going to achieve at higher levels and go to higher education. So a lot of our kids can practice reading the books that you have at home, and if you don't have several books at home, the school wouldn't mind sending home books over the summer so that your kids can really just stay engaged with reading. And so this slide, it says the summer slide accounts for as much as 85% of reading achievement gap between lower income students and their middle and upper income peers. So if we look at kindergarten, their summer learning happens, going to grade 1, summer learning happens, going to grade 2, guess where that kid is? Compared to the kid down here where kindergarten happens, there's a slide, no practice over the summer. Then they're going into first grade, second grade. No practice over the summer. There's a huge achievement gap between the kid who's practicing during the summer than the kid who's not. So I think that's a great picture to show you where your kids would be if you practice compared to not practicing. Okay, so I'm going to go back to reading. Reading is everywhere. It just doesn't have to be a book. You could be driving in the car and you could be reading signs, reading the cereal boxes, stores, you're at a restaurant, you're reading menus. Reading is everywhere. And so then stories that connect. So we're reading stories about summer activities. That really keeps kids engaged, or allowing them to choose their own topics. So if a kid is interested in football, let them read about football. Don't dictate to them what they should read. Let them read high interest reading. That means things that they're really interested in, not just something you're interested in. Okay, we're going to keep going. Writing. What can we do for writing? Is any parent in here practice writing over the summer with your kids? Okay, there's Ivory. She's a star parent, superstar. So, writing. It could be writing journals, writing a letter. If they have an older grandparent, kind of going back to the old school, let's write grandmom or grandpa a letter. Let's find a, what is that called when you're writing? Pen pal. Yeah. Okay, you have a cousin that lives in North Carolina. Let's sit down and write them a letter, okay? And so email. Kids are into technology. Maybe they don't want to sit down and write a letter. Write it in an email. It's all about practicing your writing. And in math, Ivory told us a lot about this. Does any parent want to share anything about any of these examples that may trigger a memory in you that you do with your kid, or would like to share anything else? Or anybody in the room, whether you're a parent or not. You got to get the mic, though.
I have one more thing to add. So I have 2 little ones, and what I noticed with my 2 oldest ones is that writing and math kind of tie into each other, because as you get older, you start working on word problems and things like that. So in order for them to comprehend what they're reading when it comes to math, they have to get the reading piece down first. So checking for understanding, making sure they understand what they've read, and applying that comprehension to mathematics.
Thank you. And sometimes your kids, no matter how old I have an 18-year-old, I have a 23-year-old, a 24-year-old, and a 20-year-old. And guess what? My 18-year-old still likes me to read stories aloud to her. She's like, read me a story like you did when you were little, because I like the way you do it with all that expression. And, so reading aloud, I guess whether they're 8 or 28, read aloud still, or actually going bowling, tracking scores, looking at the playoff games, tracking scores right now, going to their sports games and tracking scores, doing activities on the computer. Those are things that kids find really enjoying. And in social studies and science, here are some great things. Going to the zoo, learning about a variety of animals, going to the parks that have even free admission. You don't have to spend a lot of money to do these things. Tracking daily temperatures when you're looking at the news, or just taking advantage of nature. Looking at nature, studying nature, drawing pictures of what you see. So those are some of the things that you can do for social studies and science. Social skills. How many of us know that our children still need to be taught social skills? A lot of students come to school and they may not know how to react to a certain situation. The summer is a great time to go over those type of skills. Hey, when your teacher's talking to you, I need you to make sure you're looking them in their eye. Give eye contact. If you're upset, here's what you can do. Those are things that we can do over the summer. Going to the playground, talking about sharing, talking about things like getting along with others. How do we get a friend? Some children are so shy, they don't know how to make friends. So summertime is a great time to share, and especially, look at the last one, over mealtime conversations, coming together, eating dinner together, and even talking about cafeteria behavior, or how do we eat, your manners. Okay, so we're nearing the end of this part of the presentation. These are just some websites that we can provide to you. And for the district websites, we use Eureka Math, we have STEP, Literacy, and we're going to make sure you have the websites that you can go to that the district actually uses. And district-wide, I wanted to share with you the programs that are happening over the summer to make sure we address the summer slide. So district-wide, the program for K-7 is being held at Caddo and H.B. Wilson School. If students are in need of credit recovery and advanced courses, that's being held at Camden High and Woodrow Wilson for grades 6 through 12. And all of our high schools have summer bridge programs over the summer. So please take advantage, take notes, make sure you get that down, and make sure your kids are taking advantage of these great opportunities. And I'm going to ask Mr. Barfield to come up, and he's going to share some other activities that you can do with your kids over the summer to make sure they come in day one with the same skills they left with and excited to learn new skills. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Henson, for that valuable information. And again, as Ms. Henson has said, has any of the parents actually received the flyer in your schools in reference to the programs that the district is providing? We know that the special education, did they have signed up for summer programs? But you have to make sure that you talk to your child study team and your teacher to follow up on that. The ELL, English Language Learners, they have a summer program, which is the bilingual program. And then, like Ms. Henson said, you have the credit recovery, you have the summer bridge program, which is the summer enrichment program for those students who are going from 8th grade to high school. So any of your those schools that your child may be going to next year, that your child can actually go to that school during the summertime. And the summer enrichment program is a good program because it gets the child familiar with the facility, the campus, and then that way that helps their, that adjustment where it's not such a shock from a child going from a middle school to a high school. So that's a great program. I know that the city does have summer jobs. So we have the, I know the city of Camden, the applications have went out for the summer jobs. I know the district has the summer swag program. We have Mr. Terrell Hurst, that he can speak more about it because I know he's been dealing with that. Can you give us some brief information on, where parents can pick up the information? Is there any timelines when those applications, need to be returned back in?
Yes, how you doing? My name is Terrell Hurst, and we do have a swag program that we're starting. We just started getting all of the things together, but the swag program will be starting as of July 9th. But right now, the applications just went out. So operation managers are in each school. So that's how the communication will happen, interviews will happen, but we'll have more information as of next week. Okay.
So again, as we talked about, and Ms. Henson basically opened it up, and I'm gonna pretty much go through, again, why this topic is really very important because of the fact that when we look at our schools in the district and we see that some of our schools have been making gains, but then some of our schools do struggle, and a lot of it does have to do with what takes place during the summertime with our children. And really, summertime, and I want to kind of read this because I think it's very important that we really understand that, like Ms. Hinton said, the summertime, a lot of times, even for parents, it's like, oh, this is my break time. Whether you're working, whether whatever your schedule is, it's time that the children just do their thing. So we have sometimes our children, they can be staying up all, half the night playing video games and, oh, I don't want to go to the summer program today. I don't feel like it. But then your child is sitting home and we don't know what they're doing. And if they're just sitting around doing video games, we know that that's impacting, as Ms. Henson said, their social skills. So what happens is, as research has been conducted over the years, especially for a diverse study of students from low-income families, they tend to lose an average of 2 months of literacy and math skills during the summertime. So that's why, again, talking about these things and some of the information that have been handed out through the handouts is something that parents can use, and we encourage the parents to go back, and even the FOCs, to share this in your next monthly meetings for the next couple years, to kind of get this conversation going, that this is very important, because we're going to see that as far as our students, as they get older and they get into the middle schools, the high schools, then that's where you really see like the impact of what took place in those early years. It starts to catch up. So if our students are grade levels behind in reading or their math skills, then as they get older and they go into those higher grades, they really struggle with that. And a lot of it has to do with what takes place during the summertime. So I want everyone to pull out their handouts that we have passed to you. One is the 12 ways of preventing summer learning loss. We can start off with that page first. So as we see, the first one is visiting your local libraries. Visiting the local libraries usually they have a calendar of very, very great resources and information that parents can utilize. They usually have summer reading programs, math programs. They have a lot of technology programs, and that's only, like I said, that can supplement for those parents who don't have or not going to take advantage of the district summer program. But the local libraries definitely has a lot of resources. And then, like we're saying, the field trips.
One other thing to add with the library, I signed my kids up for a library card, and we were able to get passes to the museums, the zoo, Rosetta Stone. We were able to do online as a family to learn over 20 different languages. There were a couple of other things on, downloadable books audiobooks that your children can read and listen to on their tablets as well.
All the Camden County libraries. Yes. Oh, well, actually, that library, the library that was downtown, is actually on Camden's, Rutgers Camden's campus. So it's like right around the corner from the Paul Robeson Library. It's the Nelson Cruz Library, Camden County Library. I usually use that facility, and like you're saying, they have computers, air conditioning. Like I said, always having information for parents or the people in the community that, like I said, a lot of great resources. So that's definitely something that, again, that is a great, valuable resource that parents can utilize. On the second page, again, when we talk about reading, traveling the world without leaving home. So again, there's so much that, as far as reading, that you can go and travel and take your mind anywhere depending on what your interest is. So it's more or less, again, finding what our children's interest is. Cooking with your children. Sometimes things we think is this basic that doesn't have any, learning impact really is learning. Everything that we do is a learning experience for our children. So, and playing with your children. So again, you see that there are 12 ideals that you can actually use, and I'm not going to go through all of them because, like I said, y'all have the information, and we just encourage the parents to use them. And then the second page, we have a Summer Thrive plan. So I encourage the parents to look at this and basically, again, write down some things. Because I think it's easier and it's better when you have a plan and you have things written out, and then sit down and go through those things with your child, with your children. And again, this is also good for and important for our middle school and our high school students, that we find things and have a plan and have them sit down and really map out what are they going to do with their summer. So like we're saying, who gets excited about what? What is it that, we know that interests our children? What interests even parents? Because I know, children help parents get motivated. They help us a lot. When times when we don't feel like doing things, that they actually do, encourage us to be more active and do those things. So I encourage the parents to even use this piece here. And then the last piece of document would be more or less in reference to a budget. And finances is definitely a key to basically the future of parents, adults, and us in general in reference to money, financial literacy. This is a small step in reference to letting our children understand and know about budget, financial literacy. That's definitely a part of teaching our children about responsibility and what parents are going through, and even some things that sometimes that don't cost money, that we can still find activities, because sometimes our children and sometimes even adults, we feel like, oh, we can't have no fun unless we're going somewhere spending money. That's not necessarily the truth. A lot of times things you can do that you can learn from, that you can experience this, good experience, doesn't always cost money. So getting them to understand about all these expenses, like we can see if you look at your paperwork, when we look at things such as what does it cost to run your household? Food. I know how many parents, we can all talk about how many of our children are wasting food. How much money are we spending wasting food? So sometimes when our children ask us why we can't do X, Y, and Z, then we can sit there and we can show them, well, if mommy has to spend extra money on a light bill, or daddy, this is why we can't go, to Clementon Park this month, or we can't go to Dorney Park. We can't take a trip outside because we have to cut back on our expenses. Transportation. and how much, it really costs, for transportation. And I think the other part to what happens too is when our children grow up, the first thing they think and they say is, I want to go to college. I want a house. I want a car. But they don't know what it takes to actually gain that, and a lot of it takes money. So they have to understand money and budget and how is it, what your expense is going to be. So then therefore, what is it going to take for me to be able to afford these things that I want? Because, a lot of times I'm ready to get out of the parents' home, and a lot of us be like, well, I can't wait till you get out of the house too. So great, when you going to do it? But are you prepared? Do you have the skills? Do you know what it's going to take? Because we don't want our children having to come back and forth to home. We want them to be prepared and have the skills to be able to be on their own and be independent. So this is very important, I believe, in reference to budget, healthcare insurance, family and personal care, such as, like we're saying, daycare, things that, all these different expenses, and others, supplies and miscellaneous. I believe, again, that this is very important, that one thing that that I feel that our children don't really understand is financial literacy. So whether they're in elementary school, whether they're in middle school, whether they're especially in high school, these are the things that we hope that that we can get our children to start understanding that, but it's up to us as the parents and adults to really have these tools that engage these our children in understanding that this is what it takes. This, it's rough out here, and they see us struggling, but sometimes they don't see things. And this, a lot of these things I believe are family type things that you can come together and say, tonight we're going to plan some things out for the summertime. And so again, I would like to know if anybody else has anything to add to things that they do during the summertime to help their children, stay active. Or things that you're committed to do. What are some of the things that y'all are committed to do to make sure that your children don't take the summer slide? Ms. Hurst, I know you always, Leslie, come on. Look, you always have something to say. You always have something to say. Come on.
What is it that I do to keep them involved?
Involved? Or what you're going to commit to do this summer in reference to your grandchildren, your children, to have them committed where they're not going to be taking that summer.
Well, I hope the district forms a partnership with us
What's that?
to establish some Title I programs or after school and summer camp programs for the children. So, it was some ideas that we came up with in regards to the high school students and the elementary students. For instance, I wanted to take the high school students to a wild refugee, what you call them? No. Southern New Jersey got the wild refugee stations where they help injured birds and so forth and animals like that. And they got a hospital. So those who was focusing on being veterinarians and stuff like that, I wanted to run a summer program for that. So anyway, that's one of the things that I was trying to set up.
So as we talked about earlier in reference to, some of those things that I'm referencing, I don't know exactly what those schools that are doing those summer enrichment programs, what are they doing there. But I know a couple years ago, as an example, when my son went to Woodrow Wilson, the type of summer enrichment programs they had students was doing planning a community event. They were doing entrepreneurship. They did music. Those for that particular year, those were the things that they actually promoted. So I would, like I said, I don't know what the other schools are doing this year, but I would think, and then even as far as next year, I would hope that at this point we can actually try to bring that as a suggestion to one of those summer enrichment programs that maybe the school district or some of the schools may want to adopt. Anyone else want to share some of the things that they are committed to do to engage their children during the course of the summertime? Or anyone in the community? Ms. Wilson? No. Grandchildren? Oh, okay. You sure? Okay. And again, I don't know if we have any special education parents in here who have children with special needs, but we also have information also with web-based resources that can also help your child. One of the things that happened, which was very interesting, we had opportunity to go to a parent camp at the U.S. Department of Education a couple weeks ago, and they had this one workshop where that workshop was actually being facilitated by a young lady who was mute. So the programs and the things that they was doing as far as communication and technology, it was very interesting. And I know that even in our district, that's just an example. But just in special needs in general, that our special, education population, that they, things that they definitely need in reference to supporting their, not going through the summer slide. So web-based information or learning material also is something that can be available for them to actually help them during the summertime. So like I said, it's more or less about today was more about starting a conversation and knowing and understanding that one of the things that we know that is always a challenge during the summertime is the safety of our children, what our children are doing, and more or less just not having them regressing during the summertime. And I know one of the things that I've always done during the summertime is, during this, I would give them 2 weeks off after school. Then within that 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they was in the summer program. They was either doing a bridge program or they was in the swag program, or they was had a city job. So then that was like 6 weeks to 8 weeks. Then they still had 3 weeks before school start. 2 weeks before school start, I had my children on a schedule. You're coming home, you're going to bed, 10 o'clock, first might start off maybe like 11 o'clock. And then every week I would start like an hour early, trying to get them used to going to bed early and then getting up. And that way that would break them in, because a lot of times our students, it's like they, doing what they want to do during the course of the summer, and then all of a sudden they walking into school and all of a sudden they got to sit down and be focused and do some work in a matter of a day or two. And that's where we have a lot of our problems at in our school district. Truthfully, we really do. And a lot of it is that, parents, we don't think, that our children has to be conditioned to actually be prepared to really deal with the rigors of standing in a classroom, sitting in a classroom and get focused back to learning. And that's with the elementary school kids, that's with the middle school kids, and that's with the high school kids. So, to end the conversation is this. I know a lot of us are aware with the prison to school pipeline. Prison to school pipeline is simple. Our children don't make it through education. What options do they have when they get out of school? So the things that we're talking about in reference to how do we continue to engage our children, and I know it's a challenge and I know it's hard. Thank God I just got my oldest son graduated last year from kindergarten to 12th. My goodness. I pray every day. Every time I see a parent, I be like, wow, I've been through that. I've been through that kindergarten stage to that high school stage to the 12th grade, where I'm like, son, how you going to get to the last 2 months of school and you just giving up? And these are real things for parents. And this is for a parent who was engaged. This is a parent who was doing all these things that I'm talking about, that still had to fight to get my children engaged for education from September to June, keeping them involved, trying to stay on them, staying on them saying, y'all got to go to bed, y'all got to come home, ain't no hanging out. And then when they get teenagers, they really rebelling because they feel like I don't have a right to tell them anything. You ain't buying my phone. I bought my phone now, so how you going to take my phone from me type stuff? Well, you know what I'm saying? So it's a challenge for us as parents to get through the system, educationally trying to get our children through the system. But if our children don't have that documentation, when they go out there and they're trying to get a job, they don't have the credentials. And like that one piece says in reference to the budget, and that's the talking point for parents. How are you going to make it? And you look at it and you start breaking down what your expenses is, and you start showing your child, whether it's your teenager, your middle school, your teenagers, and then you give them the choice and say, what is it, where is it that you choose to want to be? Because when it's all said and done, it still is a choice for the children. And at a certain point, we don't have the control over their minds. We just hope that we have instilled enough respect and communication with them where they respect us enough that at some point they're going to listen to us and they're going to come around and they're going to see that what we're doing is only for the betterment of them. So again, today is more or less about getting the conversation out there. We got a couple more months before school is out, and we have this information out here that we want parents to take advantage of, because sometimes, you know, I get tired of hearing, oh, there's nothing for our children to do, there's nothing for parents. You got these community groups out here that children can be participating, but a lot of times children tell their parents, I don't want to do this. And parents say, that's okay. I don't want my child to go to here because that person said something that my child didn't like, so they don't want to go back. And then your child is sitting home doing what? Playing video games, don't have no communication skills, cannot talk, and we know that it's a competitive world out there. We know that. We know that our children have the barrier of just the area code that they come from. Camden, New Jersey, automatically, that's like, do we even want to look at and give them an opportunity or a chance? You know, so our children, and I'm seeing, like I see today when I'm walking the streets, and I look at our youth, and it's like, to me, you know, what future do they have? What future do they have, and what's taking place here in Camden, New Jersey, with the redevelopment taking place and these type of jobs are going? If our children don't have no education, where are they going to do and where they're going to go and what they're going to do? Housing is changing. We're going to affordable housing now. It's no more project-based housing. Affordable housing means that you got to have a job. You have to have good credit. These are serious conversations that we got to have with our children and our community. So I'm standing here today as a person who's walking through this community seeing this thing that we got to wake up and open up, because our children, the way they're going, you know, we're going to see a lot more downtown that's going to be homeless. I really have to say this, you know, and that's why, you know, again, today this is important, that education, the summertime is very important in the development of our children. I'm going to end on that and let Ms. Wilson close out the meeting. Okay, Ms. Henson want to say something? Okay.
So I just wanted to say one more thing before Ms. Wilson closes out the meeting. In regards to something that you mentioned, Mr. Barfield, we do have programs in the city, and a lot of the times what I hear personally from other parents is that I don't have time, or a lot of the times our children do want to participate, but we make excuses for them as to why they are not able to participate. So I think that if those who are involved, parents who are on the right track and staying involved and connected with the things that are going on in the community with our children, that we try to influence other parents, because sometimes they don't want to hear what politicians have to say, what educators have to say, but your peers you're more likely to listen to. Your community members you're more likely to listen to. So giving your personal testimony, sharing your experiences, not just the negative but the positive, can make a huge impact on children in the community and just the way parents think themselves. I took a young lady with me camping one year. Well, she never experienced that. They have to experience something other than a park or a playground. Horseback riding, you know, camping, just trails, mapping walks, gardening, trying to find out how you can produce your own product, how you can, okay, well, let's say if I did have my own garden, how much would I make? Why would I have to go to the produce junction? Why would I have to go to the grocery store? I could do this myself. You like gardening? Do it with your children. Stay involved and give them a different experience, something that they've never experienced before. If you keep the same mindset time after time and you don't take advantage of the programs and the opportunities that the city is offering us, eventually people will stop to invest in us. They won't invest in us because we're not taking advantage of the opportunities that we do have. We can't say that there's not any, because there are opportunities out there for us. We're just not taking advantage of them.
Oh, great. Well said. And thanks for adding on to that, because like you're saying, that's a lot that on my mind that, like you said, and I could have said the same thing, but you brung that out. And that's very important to understand and know, that we have to take advantage of the information and the resources that are out here in our community to help our children.
So we want to thank you. Before Ms. Wilson comes up, I just want everybody to look at each other and say, it's all a matter of time. Say it. It's all a matter of time. Remember that our kids are only in school 12% of their time. They are at home with us more than they are at school. So even during the school year, we have to take advantage of the time that they're with us and we invest in them. And so one more thing I want you to say: home learning plus school learning equals improved student learning. We're all in this together as equal partners in our children's education. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Henson. Today, you have been given a wealth of information. You've been given resources and how you can tap into them. It's on the Camden City Board of Education's website. Yes, all that information will be there for you. Oh, I'm sorry. She must be translating. Okay, so what? Okay. So there has been so much information that has been shared with us today, and I think we're just tapping on the door. I think there's a lot more information that the parents here can share, and as you become used to one another and become more familiar with each other, you will open up more. Each and every one of you has a story to tell, experiences that you have had, and other parents are going through the same situations. So most importantly, we need to begin to find that body of parents that's going to come back together and become that parent resource. So we have a parent advisory council, should be in every school. And we're going to try to get our district parent advisory council back in line. When we say that, meaning we normally had a district parent coordinator, and we no longer have that. But we need the services, and you're entitled to those things. So we're working on putting those things back in order. We had resources for you, which was 12 computers where you had the ability to come in any day and be able to go online, and we could work with you, show you how to contact the Department of Education in New Jersey as well as the Department of Education in Washington. You get to do research on behalf of things that you're interested in and things that you can also help to guide your children. So that's basically what we are here for. So our next meeting, we will have the District Parent Advisory Council meeting will be June 14th. And our next Title I Parental Involvement Committee meeting will be June the 6th. We will get that information back out to you through your FOCs and through Mr. Terrell Hurst and Ms. Ebony Henson. But before we close out, I would like to ask you, how many coordinators here, or I'm sorry, FOCs here, do you have a plan for taking your parents anywhere for the end of the year, school year? No, okay. So we wanted to find out before we put something together, we wanted to make sure that if we do that, we're not in competition with the schools taking parents on. So we'll all try to come together on the same date and make that happen. Now, what I would like for you to do, before you leave, just give us some interest of what you would like to see, where you would like to go, whether it's a museum, doesn't matter whether it's here in New Jersey, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, New York. If you tell us what those things are that you're interested in, we will try to put something together and have it for you for the end of the year program for you, for the parents. We would like to do a Parent Appreciation Day in June also, in honor of you who have been coming out and supporting us. We're hoping that next year we're going to be even bigger, and we're hoping that we will also have where the Parent Roundtable normally is in the evening, that we can merge together and then we become even a larger force. And we can do those meetings in the morning, and we can do some in the evening, because we have to be real. Parents are working. Parents need to be able to get home, feed their families before they can get to where we are. So before you leave, I'm going to ask that you would just write down something that you're interested in so that we can try to put something together for you. And thank you so very much, each and every one of you, for coming out here today. I want to thank Ms. Ebony Henson, who is the senior lead for student support. I want to thank Mr. Barfield, who is currently the secretary for the District Parent Advisory Council. I want to thank Mr. Terrell Hurst for making sure that the paperwork that we do, we put out to you, and the PowerPoint, those things are there for us. And I want to thank our CCSD-TV staff. They're always there when we call on them and we need them. So we want to say thank you to you. And yes, Leslie. Any? No, those things that will go through the schools, and those things will take place at a later date. The plan really for that is that those who want to be officers, those who have gone through the training who want to be officers, that when September comes, you would run for an election in your school, and then in October, you would be put in place as your officers. So those are the kind of things that we're going to be trying to work on. We're going to get the paperwork in order. Before, you had a parent handbook from 2012 to 2013, but things have changed. It's no longer with the No Child Left Behind. A lot has now gone into ESSA, and so we have to change that language. And when we put the book together the next time, all of you will be a part of that as well. So at this time, I would like to close out the District Parent Advisory Council meeting for the month of May. Thank you, each and every one, and continue to come out and support us. Have a blessed day.